Herkese iyi
Merhaba.
akşamlar. Bugün bu akşam Türk Patoloji Derneği'nin düzenlediği e, yapay zeka ve dijital patoloji e, webinar serisinin 8 webinar serisinin dördüncüsüyle burada birlikteyiz. Moderatörlerimiz bu serinin bir bakıma fikir anası olan çok sayın İlknur Türkmen e, aramızda. Ayrıca her ne kadar duyuruda Volkan Hoca'dan bahsetmiştik de kendisinin son anda çıkan bir programı nedeniyle diğer e, moderatörümüz Sayın İbrahim Kulaç olacak. Bugün konumuz yapay zeka çalışmaları dijital patolojide ve okyanus ötesinden çok değerli iki tane konuğumuz olacak. Ben lafı fazla uzatmadan sözü Sayın İlknur Türkmen'e veriyorum. Güzel ve verimli bir toplantı olması dileğiyle.
Teşekkür ediyorum Mine Hocam. Herkese hoş geldiniz diyorum ve İngilizceye geçeceğim izninizle. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It is my great pleasure and honor to welcome two great speakers. This is the fourth webinar of our series in Turkey. And the next one will be just before the new year at the end of December, 28th December, Wednesday. The next one, I wanted to share it. First speaker is Dr. Anil Parwani. If I don't think there is no one doesn't know about Dr. Parwani, and if it needs an introduction, but I tried to make a short introduction of his long expertise. He is the professor of pathology in Ohio State University, vice chair and director of the anatomic pathology and director of pathology informatics. His major research is on diagnostic and prognostic markers on bladder, prostate, and renal cell carcinoma. His expertise is on digital pathology, pathology informatics, viral vaccines, AI, telepathology, and laboratory automation. He has more than 300 peer-reviewed articles, and he is the editor of Diagnostic Pathology and Journal of Pathology Informatics. He has 3 books. 2 of them are about pathology informatics and digital pathology. I listened to him many times, and each of them, every time, it was so amazing to listen. So it is my great pleasure and honor to welcome Dr. Anil Parwani. And Dr. Parwani, stage is yours. Please welcome.
Thank you so much. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so thank you so much for this invitation. It's an honor for me to present to you virtually. I know it's like almost dinner time for you all. But what I want to talk to you about is where are we with AI, right? 10 years ago, we used to talk about digitizing slides. That's a given now. We have several labs around the world who can make digital slides, and we've done a good job in doing that. But how do we take this digital data and make it available for AI in a way which is ethical, which is fair, and also validate it for the right reasons, right? So I'm going to give you an overview of the evolution of AI and digital pathology. Where are we in its current state for diagnostics, research, and education? And what are the challenges today? If you build an AI solution in your lab today, how do you bring it in front of patients? How do you use it for patient care in a safe way? And where are we going in the future, right? So it's an exciting time. If you are a pathologist, you can already see these trends. There are many, many innovations, more than I even can learn about every day. More complexity of testing, more molecular tests. There is more automation. There are now automation available for the histology lab, where you can put a piece of tissue in a machine and get an image at the end. So we are progressing in this field. We're working with engineers and computational scientists. So, and I am very intrigued by the large language models like ChatGPT. We just did a study where I asked one of the students to use ChatGPT to ask questions from Robbins' Pathology textbook, 1,000 questions, and it was 80% correct. So I don't know, maybe the computer will take my board exam in the future. But we have several tools available today in anatomical and clinical pathology. So I want to focus on digital pathology, image analysis, and AI, right? So who contributes the most data in a hospital ecosystem, right? So it's pathology. Every time you look at a digital pathology image, that's 2 gigabytes of data that is going into the system. Compare this with the EMR, radiology, cardiology. And we're seeing this more and more as we incrementally digitize more slides or do more next-gen sequencing. So this is already established in many hospitals have done studies to show clinical efficiency gains, workflow integration, QA, education, training, research, and then AI. So I want to focus mostly on AI today. So I'm assuming everybody agrees that with a digitized image, it leads to decrease in time of diagnosis, right? So you have your information right there. So in my hospital, most of the pathologists don't even get the glass slides anymore. They are looking at digital images. So the time and our histology lab is 3 miles away from the hospital. So it really is a time savings factor. But more importantly, I can consult an expert pathologist in real time, right? So, and then because we're going to talk about AI, this is a huge area where this will become very, very important for pathology. Like digitized slides, when we talk about digitized slides, people tell me, oh, it's the same thing as a microscope. You don't need a digital slide. But the value proposition for digitization really comes from building diagnostic algorithms, which will support and provide workflow efficiencies to the pathologist. We can consult instantaneously, right? So I can look at cases in Japan, in Saudi Arabia, in India, in real time, locally, regionally, and globally. And as a pathologist, I'm excited to see complex cases. I look at a lot of routine cases. I'm on service today. I have 40 cases to review this morning. But I would rather see very interesting and complex cases. And I'm sure you have your share of those complex cases. And we want to streamline the reviews of these cases. But let's assume that all of us can digitize slides. I know that's not a good assumption, but how do we go from a digitized slide to create AI applications? So we have to create a pixel pipeline. So all the slides coming into your histology lab, let's assume that you have scanners and they will be digitized. You're building a pixel pipeline and you're exposing those pixels to build AI solutions. So some questions to consider as we think about AI. Does it really work? Does it make it better than what you currently do? So I don't believe technology in its current form can replace pathologists ever, right? So, but we have to think realistically. What are we trying to achieve? What is your goal? If you are already successfully making a good diagnosis for prostate cancer, do you really need that AI? So where does it come in? So I think in some areas in pathology, we're already there, right? Does it make pathologists more accurate? And that's another interesting way to look at AI in pathology, because there has been a lot of resistance from pathologists. Does it make you faster? Right? So I think by digitization, you are already having access to those images and consults and sharing those images. So it automatically makes you faster. But does it really save you money? Right? So these are important things. When you want to bring an AI test into your lab, you have to answer these questions because somebody has to pay for it. Right? So pathologists today are performing many complex manual tasks. We count cells, we count nuclei, we count mitoses. Many of these tasks can be automated. So I think about AI deployment in pathology in 3 steps. One step is where AI can take over some of those things that a calculator can do, right? The other step is AI can guide you. And thirdly, AI is autonomous, where when you come to work, it gives you an accurate picture of that cancer and grades it and quantitates it. So all of these will not be realized if you cannot digitize that H&E slide or the cytology slide or the hemepath slide. So we have now an opportunity to go beyond the glass slide. We have opportunities to identify rare events, quantify things, synthesize information. So this is where integration with your lab information system, your EMR, is very critical, because you cannot just buy a scanner and just plug it in the wall and start digitizing slides, because without this context and the integration, it would be meaningless, right? So we have to find ways where it starts to make sense. So let's assume that each one of us can now do an integrated workflow where all your cases are digitized. So how do we go beyond that, right? So one of the easiest things to do and think about is quantitative tools, right? So all of you as pathologists are looking at an image and trying to quantitate things. It's 10%, it's 5%, it's 20%. How do we make that 17%, 17.5%, 17.59%? And today we have that capability with image analysis, right? So we have, and pathologists' role is critical in this, in precision medicine. Precision medicine needs precision pathology. So if you can tell an oncologist that this cancer has an expression of Ki67, which is 17.3, and that has increased from last year. Last year it was 9.3. That is important information. But today we don't do it objectively. We do it subjectively. We give a range. So we have to think about the power of pathology, and more importantly, the power of precision pathology, because it really is. We do multiple biomarkers like PD-L1, ER, PR, HER2/neu, Ki67, P53, and many more, right? There will be new biomarkers tomorrow. So we have to be in the forefront of this quantitative digital image analysis. So we can stand in front of a tumor board and tell people that last year's tumor was, 9.3, but today it's 17.3, which means the cancer is progressing. It's multiplying faster. It's becoming more aggressive. So they can customize precisely the therapeutics that that patient needs. So, like there are many, many examples of nuclear staining, cytoplasmic staining, and membranous staining. So you can see, if I asked each one of you in the audience to count these green dots within 5 seconds, you will give me an approximation. But in this case, it's easy because everything is staining. But what if only 5 of these dots were staining? So we are in an era where precision will be very important, better accuracy, measuring things, quantifying things, making it repeatable. So if I have a patient in Columbus, Ohio, and they come to your institute, Dr. Tuckman, they should get the same result, right? That same slide and that same image, the same results. So they get the same treatment. And that's what precision means. And it should be automable, right? We should not be spending time counting cells, counting nuclei, counting mitoses. We need more efficiency in triaging cases. And then this contributes to big data projects where pathologists are in the forefront of being in that decision making as they design these type of projects. So if I showed you this image and the oncologist wants to know how much of this is necrosis, how much of this is stroma, how much of it this is tumor. I just did that this morning. I had 3 cases where I had to do exactly this. Today, we estimate it like maybe 10%, maybe 20%. But with the advent of these AI tools, we can do it more precisely and spend less time doing it. So as a pathologist, you have a very heavy workload. You're always constantly looking at slides, looking at cases, and there's a pressure to release the diagnosis sooner. And they expect you to not make errors, be very accurate. So AI tools can help us in that regard, right? So if I look at this tumor detection, there are several companies who are making tumor detection software. So it allows you to accurately quantitate how much tumor is in this field of view. You can even go beyond that, where you can do multiplexing. So if I look at this, I don't know, if I asked pathologists in the audience if I gave you this image, quantitate the number of mitoses, how long do you think it will take you? 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes? But what if I just pressed a button and the computer quantitated the mitoses? And again, I'm not saying this will replace pathology, but this will help you in quantitating the number of mitoses. Who loves to quantitate mitoses and look for metastatic cancer in lymph nodes, right? Dr. Tuckman, you do that? You like to do that?
No, really. I don't think anyone likes it.
Right, but you have to do it, right? Because that's precision pathology. They expect precision oncology, precision medicine needs precision pathology. Today we are doing subjective pathology, right? So if I looked at this field, my answer will be different from your answer. You know, and again, that's not the point. The point is, if you can use an iPhone or a smartphone today, why would you use an older phone? So let's use an iPhone, right? To make your diagnosis more objective, make your diagnosis more precise, and be able to consult each other more rapidly. And so I think AI will help us. This is an interesting study where this was a deep learning algorithm for detecting lymph node mets in women with breast cancer, right? So this was in the setting of a challenge competition where some deep learning algorithms achieved better diagnostic performance than a panel of 11 pathologists, right? So this is, again, an example of where we can overcome some of the subjective assessments that we do. You know, like we give a range, 20 to 30%, or less than 5%. PDL1 is a perfect example, right? It's less than 1%, 1 to 49 or greater than 50. And some patient, based on your assessment, will get this drug, which costs thousands of dollars, and they probably need it or don't need it, right? So I think that's where the value of these tools come in. What about looking at lymph nodes? So this is a lymph node. If I showed it to you, how many of you think just looking at this image alone that this is a positive lymph node, right? So I can see this focus here without using AI, but it's right there. It's cancer. But what if I could build a tool where I click a button and choose an application, and it gives me all these tools in my application list. So I click on metastatic detection and I press a button, and the computer rapidly finds the cancer in these lymph nodes. And again, what if I gave you a magic wand where before you came to your office, this was already done for you, and all the positive lymph nodes were screened for you, just like a virtual fellow. And you come in and you agree or disagree with it, right? So this will, how much time will it save you? Like in my cases today, I have 300 lymph nodes to review, right? So I probably will spend at least half a minute or a minute per lymph node. That's 4 hours of my time, right? Including, entering this data into my report. What if this was done for you ahead of time? Now, I don't have a resident with me. I don't have a fellow with me today. But these are the opportunities which AI brings to pathology, quantitating things, identifying things, making your diagnosis more objective and more precise. So these are some examples. We did a study of lymph nodes in our institute using AI, where we looked at lymph nodes from multiple cancers, not just prostate or breast or colon. And we found that every time this was happening, we were able to, in a research setting, in a clinical trial, able to identify cases of lymph node mets, which the pathologist was able to identify after review of the slides, right? But we also found cases where pathologists had missed lymph node mets, especially micromets. So and they didn't have to do an immunostain to use this algorithm. You need to do cytokeratins or anything like that. What about isolated tumor cells? Those are tricky. Those are hard to find. But what if you came to work and you saw this dot around this isolated tumor cell cluster, right? So many experienced pathologists will say, it's not a big deal. I can do this every day. But what if you're just starting out? What if you're a junior pathologist? What if you're a fellow? What if you're a resident? Do you want this tool in your pocket, right? So what about cancer screening, right? So the most well-studied cancer is prostate cancer, where we can do AI to not only find the cancer, but quantitate it. Also give you a degree of suspicion that this is likely cancer or not. So again, all these AI tools need to be validated in your clinical environment, because your H&E slides might be different than my H&E slides. Your type of cases that you see, the population dynamics might be very different. So when you're going to hear the next talk, you're going to see the value of validation and training the data sets that you create. But in general, this is now very well established that you can now use AI to predict where the cancer is in a prostate biopsy, quantitate it, and also grade it. So if you look at this, this is a heat map of prostate cancer, which was identified and circled by the computer, right? So AI can provide you with all this information, and this can be done either before you sign out the case or after you have signed out the case. So imagine you had signed out 50 cores of prostate biopsies today, and you were 100% sure that all the diagnosis that you did was correct. But imagine when you have a safety net where all your cases are checked before they are released. Would you like that or not? Right. So we did a study where we screened 1,000 cases, and we found 4 cases, small foci of cancer. There was cancer in other cores, so it didn't make a difference clinically. But we found 4 needle cores where the pathologist had called it negative, and the computer said it's positive. And we went back and looked at it, it was positive. No immunostains were done. So this is an opportunity to improve your workflows, your efficiencies. So you have more time to do the other things that you are not doing today, right? So, and these are the first one of these algorithm is FDA approved in the United States, and it's so you can use it. Do you get paid for it today? No, we don't get paid for it. So if you do it in a way where, so you can create all these heat maps. So if you look at this, I can say, okay, show me the cancer. And I can say, show me the H&E slide. And you might say, I don't need this tool. I can do this on my own, which is fine. But there are pathologists who are signing out search path, general search path. They don't see all these biopsies every day. They could use this tool, right? So this could be an app on your computer. So again, this is perineural invasion, right? So you can use this tool and find areas of cancer, quantitate it, grade it. What about breast cancer, right? So same concept. You can create, this is an example of intraductal carcinoma, which was missed on the microscope, where AI identified it. And the message today that I'm giving you is not that pathologists are not good. The message I'm giving to you is pathologists are overworked. They're forced to work faster, and that leads to errors. And I make errors. Everybody makes errors. It's a human nature to make mistakes, and learn from it. But what if I had a safety net? What if I had a button which would help me make less errors and also make me give a higher quality diagnosis with more quantitation, with more accuracy? Why wouldn't you want to use this tool, right? So let's say all of us had a blank check and we could buy all these apps for your monitor. Why won't you, right? It's going to make your life easier and better. This is breast cancer, where the computer is not saying it's cancer or not, it's giving you a probability. The red color is high probability, the green color is less probability, right? So you're getting these heat maps. What about hematopathology, right? So this is an example of an image which is multiplexed. So 7 different biomarkers, 6 biomarkers and autofluorescence have been used to stain one H&E slide with all these different markers with different colors. And this took 15 minutes to do compared to, doing multiple stains and trying to figure this out. So in the future, you're going to see more multiplexing, more immunofluorescence, and this will become a part of your tool set that will be available to you. So this is an example of another application. This was actually built in Istanbul, and one of my colleagues, they have a company and they built this tool, and you can see the computer is identifying mitotic figures for you while you are reviewing this case, or even before you reviewed the case. So you can go in and click on any of these dots, and you will see what they call mitosis or not. So this is just an example of tools, AI tools, which are making their way into pathology. 10 years ago, we used to think about how do we digitize slides, which scanner to use. Today, we have to think about which AI application we want to buy or build, right? So it doesn't have to be buying it. And it's going beyond surgical pathology. So this is an example of cytopathology, where the computer has assessed this pap smear and they found areas of intraepithelial lesions in the cervix and circled them for you. What about, like, when I was a resident, the way I learned pathology was I had a glass slide. I was looking at it. It looked like pancreatic cancer, or it looked like neuroblastoma. I would open a book and compare the image or the slide with something in the book, in Robbins or some other book, Ackerman Surgical Pathology. Today, you have tools where the computer will help you identify similar images in the database, right? So imagine you have a rare clear cell carcinoma in the kidney, and you were trying to do immunostains, trying to figure out what it is, order molecular assays. What if you took a picture of that case and you fed it into this machine, just like you do in Google Maps, and they gave you the best match? In this case, it's a subependymoma in the brain. So this was your query image, and this is your best match, right? So automatically you are on the right path. You can order the immunostains to confirm your diagnosis, but you don't have to order 50 immunostains anymore. You can order 3 immunostains, right? So that's the power of this technology. So today we are in the knowledge base of pathology, where we have all this data which is coming from pathology, and we have all these new tools, but we have to use these AI tools smartly. We have to validate them. We have to make sure that you agree with that diagnosis. Ultimately, it's not the AI who's making the diagnosis, you as a pathologist who is making the diagnosis. Your name is on that report, not the AI person or the AI machine, right? So we are in the very beginnings of our journey into AI, and it's already improving our practice, our workflows, maybe the quality of a diagnosis, the speed of a diagnosis. But I expect that use of AI will continue to evolve, and it will likely be used in mainstream pathology within the next 10 years. So I'm usually very more optimistic, but there are some challenges ahead of us, like getting the right data sets, training the AI models. And I think that's where our next speaker will help us understand, what is the importance of this data? Why do we need to validate it? So with this, I'm going to stop. But there are some really cool things coming in pathology, new imaging modalities, new specialties where we have to digitize them. We have to look at how do we improve the storage? How do we deploy AI solutions to pathologists, increase adoption, de-identify these cases so we can use them easily for research, and create additional revenue opportunities for pathologists. In the US, we now have CPT codes for digitizing slides and AI, but we don't get reimbursed for them. They're research tools. But it's critical to integrate this data and the workflows to create a computationally enabled integrated diagnostic pathway. So it's a very, very bright future ahead, but we as pathologists need to understand AI. We need to understand the limitations, the challenges, and also the benefits. So with this, I'm going to stop. And I want to again thank you all for inviting me here and allowing me to share my vision with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Parwani.
Thank you very much, Dr. Parwani, and it was a wonderful talk. And I know I have many questions, and I know that many people are thinking about their own questions. But let's wait for Dr. Kumar's talk, and after the end, we can get all the questions for both of you. So after this, sorry, were you saying something? No, okay. After this wonderful talk from Dr. Parwani, it is my great pleasure to announce our next speaker, Dr. Darshan Kumar from i4ia Technologies. I recently learned that it's AI for image analysis, which is a wonderful abbreviation and a wonderful name for a company. So Dr. Darshan Kumar is a distinguished expert in cell and molecular biology with a PhD from Helsinki University, Finland, and he has a master's degree in biomedical sciences from Leiden University. And Dr. Kumar's work spans across various areas, actually, including virology, immunology, and, of course, image analysis, imaging biology. So he's not just a scientist, he also is involved in the entrepreneurial side of the science, and he has a keen interest in business aspects. Let's say that he is a board member and co-chair of the Biotech Club, and he's been instrumental in fostering industry partnerships and educating peers. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Darshan Kumar. Dr. Kumar, please, stage is yours.
Thank you so much. I will start by thanking you for this nice opportunity and to share a stage with all you esteemed guests, including Professor Anil. And yeah, thank you also, Dr. Ilknur, for organizing such events. I think it's very good overall globally, not just for the pathology family in Turkey. Yeah, I will share. Well, start by sharing my screen now. If you can just tell me whether you can see my screen. I hope it's visible. Is it visible? My screen, is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I will start again by adding to a lot of points that Professor Anil had already mentioned. In the past, there was the traditional microscope, and I still see the microscope. I hope the microscopes actually don't leave the pathology labs. I think it's still good education for the doctors. I'm not a pathologist myself, but now I learned a lot about pathology. But with the transformation, like Dr. Anil said, it is always a good thing to adopt the new technologies to reduce our existing burden. To just reiterate what you're seeing right now, it is a commercial platform which is helping globally multiple different hospitals in doing their diagnostic work as fast as possible. When it especially comes to the prostate case that was also shown previously by Dr. Anil, it is time consuming. It is sometimes a case where you might have very small pieces of small pieces of tumors that might be accidentally missed. And that's where AI as a friend comes in to help you with this daily burden that the pathologists have to go through. A whole slide image which is analyzed within a minute or less. The idea over here is not only just to detect the cancer, but also to be able to contour it so that you get highest resolution. Imagine that you would have a pen in your hand and then you would like to draw at the edges of the tumor. Not only draw that, but also on the left-hand side, get the exact percentage values of the gradings as well. And then finally, this is hopefully a dream come true in today's world where you do not have to manually do these counting, but you just check if the AI is doing its job correctly or not. And finally, you can have the automatic Gleason score and the Gleason sum. All you need to do in this case is to check if you can then confirm your report. And like Dr. Anil said, currently it is still expected that the burden of responsibility is on the pathologist's shoulders to be able to confirm the report that the AI is generating. And when it comes to very small pieces of foci, at least in this case, it's quite a heavy. I wanted to find something else with very small pieces of tumor that actually can be missed, but the AI is going to help in that case as well. This is one of the cases where you have, it's not just one image that counts, is what I know. You have 10 images, sometimes 12 images for one patient that you would need to do the diagnosis of. And when you're looking at it, there is a lot of tiresome, Actually, there is one pathologist from AIIMS in India, one of the very big hospitals. He got a vertigo because looking through the binoculars of the microscope, and when he woke up, he actually fell down because he's working from 9 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock in the evening, and it's just too much of burden for reporting and finishing up the cases on time. And here it's quite straightforward. The AI helps in doing these pre-calculations for you from the scanners all the way to the AI, and then allowing the pathologist to finally come up with a work list. So the same kind of work list where all the organs of your choice are analyzed by the AI. It's already deployed for you to have a look at. And in addition to that, for you to be able to prioritize. So here, if you would like to first select all the cases where the cancer is there, complete those cases one by one, and then give the next priority for all the benign cases. So if I now go back, finish all the cases, then you can then focus on the cases where there is no cancer that has been found by the AI for this patient case. So in this case, the oncologist, the clinician, and eventually the patient can probably wait a little bit longer because there is no tumor that has been found. So a good way for the AI to help in triaging, like also as said by Dr. Anil, to fasten up and prioritize that patient that needs the information as soon as possible within minutes, with the final confirmation from the pathologist's side. Again, here I have multiple different algorithms looking at breast cancer cases. For example, here, there's another headache that I've heard is that sometimes when you have the cancer that is detected, then you need to again reorder for the immunostains separately. With an algorithm like this, the AI can first look at all the tumor cases. Here it actually even counts the mitotic cells for you. So when you zoom in over here, then the AI will also help you to get the mitosis count. Eventually, when you get these two kind of findings, you can eventually also get the mitotic index. This information can be directly sent to your image management system or your list to automatically order, for example, the immunohistochemistry stains. So you don't have to wait to order this separately. This is an automatic system that can also be employed using an AI system, so that when you're coming to the system as a pathologist and you're wanting to finish the diagnostic case, the AI is already prepared through the LIS system or through the image management system, the immunohistochemistry stains, and on a full slide image, done all the calculations for you. For us, it is very important to keep reminding the pathologists that the ultimate report is their responsibility. We are just an aid to speed up the process for you. And any small findings that you would disagree with the AI, the pathologist has the full ability to change each and every result if that would be needed, even on a pixel level. The whole point over here is not for you to keep changing the results too much, because that also consumes time. So hopefully you're not using that tool that I'm showing to you. But if at all you would be needing that tool, you can easily make changes. If the cancer has been missed, the AI will automatically add that to the report, and also eventually also count the cells inside that as well. When you do a finish, it will update the report over there. And again, when it comes to the whole slide image analysis, it is possible for you to automate that, get that positive value with a precise percentage. Well, we only provide 1 decimal, but maybe that's enough for the reporting. You don't need too many decimal places after this, after the main values. Same thing, HER2, Ki67. When it comes to the portfolio, AI companies like us basically are asking pathologists what is needed. Hopefully we can stay even 2 steps ahead, so that we have already that algorithm ready, which is a burden for you on your day-to-day cases. This is a lung cancer case, for example. PDL1, I've heard that many people hate to do this. They just don't want to work with this PDL1 case because again, it's time consuming. It is too much of burden. And again, the AI can help you in doing sometimes it can be very tricky to automatically count this PDL1 positive cells inside the tumor area to finally get you that this value that you're looking at. Now, these are the algorithms that are made because, as a company, for us to survive, we are looking at caseloads where the actual burden is needed. But then the other thing is also for you to be able to make your own algorithms. I will quickly take you through them. In short, just to also very quickly show the workflow, because once the algorithm is made and you are having an IMS system in place already, the workflow becomes the next big challenge because you would like not to be fiddling around with maybe too many screens, too many softwares, but you have everything centralized. So this is just a very quick video to show that when you are working with an image management system, for example, like the Sectra system, from the Sectra, you can directly activate order the algorithms report and then fetch all that information back to the Sectra system without you needing to do, without you needing to have too much of a hassle. So full integration, including the results on a pixel level that can be sent back to your Sectra system. This is coming back to the topic of giving you the power to also make your algorithms. The algorithms that I already showed to you was just few of the CEAVD models, but these algorithms are even more complex. You can have an algorithm that can have a complexity depending on what you can see with your eyes. Here, an algorithm is being made to look at high quality tissue, tumor areas. Like this is a colorectal cancer case, looking at tumor epithelium, inside epithelium, again, individual cell counting, and even you can also do spatial biology as well. If you're looking at how many tumor cells are next to the tumor, because there is a drug that you're increasing the way the immune cells are being trained to attack the tumor, you can do those kind of spatial methods as well. When it comes to diversity, because now you have the histology sections, you have the cytology sections. You can also make algorithms using this platform. This is an algorithm which was built, I think this was built within 10-15 minutes by the pathologist to show what is a malaria infected cell versus all these negative cells. Instead of you doing this manually for a few high focused, high power fields, you can make an algorithm. The effort the scanner is making to build all of these pixels and putting it together, let it not go to waste, and you can use all of the data to automatically count all of these cells in the whole slide. The other thing is turnaround time, like Dr. Anil was also saying. You are counting all these 5,000 cells that you can see. If it takes too much time, then there is no point using it. But using quantum computing and cloud computing, this takes, for example, I don't know if you can see the drop down, it takes 1 second. This whole image analysis took 1 second. Let's complicate this a little bit more. Sometimes the images might not be that good. This is a BAL sample, BAL, the Lavage samples. Cells are sometimes overlapping. They don't look that great. But from your expert eyes, you should be able to validate these different type of immune cells. You can easily teach, again, the whole AI training window and the training system to be able to stratify these type of cells instead of you manually doing this. This algorithm itself took around 5 to 10 minutes, including the annotation. The training itself took 15 minutes on the cloud. This was made by a cytopathologist from Spain, and now he is using this in routine diagnostics as well. And again, this is counting nearly 300,000 cells, and this one took 6 seconds to do the analysis on the whole slide image. So this is the value proposition, because sometimes many people come to us and say, yeah, you have breast, you have prostate cancer. I would like to build my own, which is a rare case, and I don't want to do manual counting for that either. And that's why I think, Dr. Serdar, I'm going to hand it over to you very soon, so you could show exactly how you were able to build your own algorithms. There are multiple different algorithms. I mean, there are many in this list. I don't have that much of time capacity to take you through this. This was built to count the glomeruli, not only to count the glomeruli in the kidney, but also to stratify them on which is sclerotic and which is viable between the two. So again, if you can train, it's like training a child. If you can train the child to be able to follow your actions, it's able to do it for you. Very quickly, just to show you how the annotation itself goes, because that was also mentioned by Dr. Anil. You need good annotations. In this place, you are trying to show what is a mitotic cell. And this is the biggest headache in today's world, to find data set, find a lot of data set, and then to be able to annotate it. Yeah, if I would say to a pathologist, okay, can you annotate these mitotic cells, and they can make an algorithm. In today's world, we are also seeing that the pathologists will find it, of course, difficult to find and source, because mitotic cells are needle in a haystack situation. To find those cells to even annotate to make an algorithm is a headache. What if we can annotate automatically? This is a patented tool that is also automatically annotating those ground truths for you that you don't have to go and search for and find. Meaning your annotation boils down to just one button, a pixel level annotation that just boils down to one button. If you agree with the annotation, the AI will help you in automatically annotating it, or you can disagree with it. Okay, I think I will stop over here, and I will hand it over to Dr. Serdar, who has, in a very short amount of time, it's not a perfect model is what I understand, but in a very short amount of time was able to build his own AI model for 2 different cases. So I'll stop my screen share, and Dr. Serdar, please go ahead at your end.
Thank you very much, Dr. Darshan. I am going to show you 2 aspects that we have discussed together. The first one is the clinical part. I'll just show you how the Ki-67 Ki-67 counting can be used. Here is the work list. These are our demo cases from our own department. I'm going to show you them. In the beginning, you can see that it has detected the positivity and gives a result. Let's go and see the results. What I like is that, I don't know, the companies are not using this for promotion purposes, but even the invasive areas in a tumor versus stroma is also a good help for the pathologist, even in the beginning. Here we see the invasive tumor areas highlighted. I'm going to close that. And then from above, you can see that the Ki-67 is pretty high in this area. But the model also helps highlighting those areas to find the hot spots. This is one of the problems in Ki-67 counting, to find the hotspots and to get the results. And it is very easy if you can find the hotspot and then ask the AI to count that area. As you can see, it has counted this hotspot to be nearly 50%. And we can just, if we don't agree with the result, we can just discard those cells as shown before. The AIs also have their own artifacts. They also may have some false positives and false negatives. We, the pathologists, will get used to them and start accepting or rejecting the AI results as false positives or false negatives. This will take some time, and we are going to learn how to do that, I think. And this even if you don't agree with the invasive or in situ areas, invasive areas in this presentation, in this image, you can exclude those areas or include those areas to count the cells inside there or not. So I think for the routine practice, a tool that will show the hotspot areas and detect areas that we can focus will be very nice, and it will facilitate our diagnostic time and accuracy. So I will go to the research part. I'm going to show you two examples. One is, maybe this is very easy. This is a stomach gastric biopsy. It has both intestinal metaplasia and Helicobacter pylori together. And in this model, to remove this one. This is not pre-trained. This H. pylori detection system is not from Euphoria. They were using gimsacetains to detect the H. pylori. It was their commercial products. And when we were discussing Dr. Darshan, he asked if there are any other methods, and I said that we are using nowadays Wartenstein for the gastric biopsies. And when I select the image, I have selected analyze, sorry. Okay, here you see that it has detected the tissue. I'm going to remove the tissue areas. And it has detected the Helicobacter pylori stains. From a digital pathology perspective, this can be an easy task because it is just detecting the black areas with some elongated features when they are clumped together or when they are isolated in other places. But as you know that during our diagnosis, Helicobacter pylori, finding HP and diagnosing them takes our time. So it may be used for clinical purposes. As you can see here, there is a false positive area. These are the highlighted brush border of the intestinal metaplasia areas. We did not go into this much detail. This is just prepared for this presentation. And as you see that there are some false positive areas or false negative areas, and we may have to train this area to exclude for the further use. You can see that it's detecting the isolated Helicobacter pylori here, and also detecting the Helicobacter pylori clumps. And if one can integrate this, all the cases can be scanned prior to sign out, and they can be grouped as HP positive or negative. And I'm going to go to our favorite organ, pancreas. I wish Volkan was here. I have to show him this one. Is it 3A or C? Let me see which one. 3A. Okay. This. So this was also a toy project, if you want to name it like that. We have only 10 pancreas TrueCut biopsies. We have trained them with 10 or 15 annotations, and this algorithm only detects tumor and stroma. Let me show you. So it detects the tissue, it detects the stroma, and it detects the tumor. Let's see how it worked. So it is detecting the cells within the detached areas, the potential lymphovascular spaces, isolated cells. However, it's also missing some of them. The pancreas biopsies are hard because the stroma is also has some very atypical cells, so it is very hard to detect them. But if we can find the way, we will continue working on it. I just want to show this core again. So this is, as you see, there are some bubbles here, and this artifact has inferred with the interpretation of the AI. So as we have discussed in the previous webinars, not only having the AI tools available or the other computational power available, first we have to work on our laboratory quality to have a very nice slice. Even these small bubbles may interfere with the interpretation of the images. For the next steps, we are going to see if we can identify the ducts from the native ducts from the tumor areas as well. It seems to take some time. So these were the cases I wanted to share as a pilot contributor. I'd like to ask Dr. Darshan to continue.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Serdar. I know I'm running out of time, so I will speed up in the finishing part of my presentation. Let's see. So in short, from research, we finally are able to, I don't know if you can see my screen, but from research, we finally go into actual clinical production and deployments. This is just one of the news where we deployed our solution to the Mayo Clinic, quite a big clinic. They scrutinized us quite a lot. We were happy that they scrutinized us enough so that we can deploy trustable algorithm towards them. Same thing now with the NHS Trust, one of the biggest trusts in the whole of the UK, where we have deployed another algorithm over there. A lot of publications have resulted in the same kind of algorithms like Dr. Serdar has been now building. But now we are going also on the prognostic side as well. An algorithm built not only to be able to detect cancer, but also to be able to say how the prognosis of the patient is going to be. In this case, the algorithm predicts for colorectal cancer recurrence-free survival. This is just one of the algorithms. There are many algorithms, one for prostate, one for serous carcinoma, where our customers have built it themselves and fed in retrospective data. Some of marketing companies, like quite well-known magazines, have tried to cover this, and we are now also stock listed so that pathologists can own the company as well, if that's of interest. And finally, I just have a few. This was my actual title, but in short, the past has been confusing. It has been complicated when it comes to AI, and it has sometimes been a bit unbelievable for the pathology community and for the common man on the street. Present has been a little bit of partial acceptance from a few. Dr. Ilknur is one of them sitting over here. Dr. Anil is one of them, part of this conversation. There are early adopters as well. Existence of confusion still continues with many of the people. Burden of transformation. It's a big burden for the whole pathology community or any firm to start to include this in the routine diagnosis. It's not that easy. You see, the transformation is there's a lot of transition is there. Sometimes a bit of a confusion. Okay, how do I actually put it into my workflow? You see, even to make tenders sometimes is difficult because you don't know the nitty-gritty details. There is fear of missing out for many people are thinking, okay, I need to definitely include this, but when and how, is there a budget, all these kind of things. And then fear of replacement. We never talk about this, but many pathologists are constantly thinking about this. And Dr. Anil has very nicely portrayed and addressed this question in his email. And sometimes distrust. Yeah, can you trust this AI? Can it actually be working? In the projected future, as these are all personal opinions. AI will be a backup and a standby. AI will be our servant. It's there to serve us. Reducing human population in today's world will help us to serve as a good servant, and it will allow us to retire on time. The retirement age is just increasing because the burden is too high. Hopefully, it's going to help us out. AI in pathology, it will assist in medical diagnosis, at least for simple cases, and it will be expected to give opinions on the difficult cases, but it will have to be at par with pathologists' needs. It will help in global standardizations because diagnosis might differ from continent to continent, even lab to lab, and there'll be a big dependent on the pathologist for the AI to evolve itself. Expectations of the AI will immensely increase. Now we are maybe doubting it, which is good. In the future, I see that a non-working AI would be a surprise for people. Why doesn't this AI work? It should be. So our expectations would increase. And maybe, hopefully this doesn't happen, but companies like AI companies might also go into litigation. Yeah, insurance companies will start to require AI in their, if you want to have a better credit. But in short, this is the most important. Hopefully, pathologists can have a real weekend. Why I say this? Dr. Johanna working on a Saturday morning, Dr. Lotta from Finland working on a Sunday evening. Recently got that from Dr. Serdar as well, who's also working on a weekend. So in short, I would like to thank you again for this. I would like to pronounce this properly as Teşekkürler for your attention and time. This is our, like Mr. Ibrahim said, this is our motto. But if the marketing allows, I would like to change this motto to this one for the company in the future. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much. I couldn't be more excited to see that, especially like having a real weekend that seems so far for me. Like it's probably gonna happen in years. But yeah, thank you so much.
Let's start with free evenings, maybe, huh? Weekend is
Let's start with that.
Can be a good start.
Yeah.
First, can I say something? I first want to thank Darshan. When we first talked with Darshan last year, I think, or more than 1 year, maybe, and he talked about Euphoria Crates, and it was so amazing that you can make your own algorithm, and I was so excited. Serdar is also excited, as well as he couldn't show that excitement. But it is so good to see that yes, Serdar built up his own algorithm with Euphoria Crate algorithm for digital pathology, as well as academic, as well as pathologists, as well as engineers. Industry must be in because it is a must, and this collaboration is the key, I think. So I want to thank so much. We have questions, and I think Dr. Parwani closed his camera. I'm trying. I will try. He came. Welcome, Dr. Parwani. We have a lot of questions. Ibrahim?
Yes, so we can start with the first question. That question is to Dr. Parwani. And the person who asked the question is Fikret Dilenenoğlu. So he says, could you tell us about the false positive markings by AI that could potentially mislead pathologic diagnosis?
Yeah, so just like in real life, right? When you're looking at a prostate biopsy on a glass slide, there are benign mimickers of cancer. There are variants of prostate cancer that look benign, like forming cancer. So AI will be reviewing the same exact images that a pathologist would review. So ultimately, it goes back to the things that we talked about. If AI can help you solve 90% of your workload, you still have to review everything, but you also have to learn to understand what the limitations are. Just like like you have good residents and good fellows, and there is variability in what they bring to you. So it'll be same thing with AI. So we have seen this in real life where AI can call something cancer, but it's really not cancer. But with more training and validation, those numbers have gone down over time. But ultimately, you will learn to trust AI as much as you want to or as little as you want to. But use it as a tool, right? At the end of the day, when a fellow reviews your cases, you still review it again. You still order immunos, you still sign out that report. Your name is on the report. So that should never change. So there will be false positives and false negatives, like any test.
Thank you, Dr. Parwan. The second question is also for you. Two questions from Mohammed Dervish Aslan. He thanks first for the talk. The first question is, in your opinion, what are the key reasons that AI is unlikely to fully replace pathologists? The second one, how to perceive AI's role in pathology residency training. I have observed some research groups employing generative AI to develop artificial slides for training purposes.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the key reasons is today, when you bring a new trainee and you give them an exam and they become certified to become a board certified pathologist, that's a process. So that process will be the same for bringing AI. So AI is just a tool. So as a pathologist, you have two choices. One, to ignore AI, or two, to make AI work for you. And at the end, in the future, there will be no AI or digital pathology. It'll all just be pathology. Just like today we order immunostains, next-gen sequencing, you will be ordering AI assays. And you will be pressing a button on your monitor, which will allow you to decide if this is cancer or not. But I would not be afraid of AI. I would actually use AI to make your work better, make your life better, make your weekends a reality, like Dr. Kumar said. But at the end of the day, your name is on the report, and you have to learn to trust these systems or not. You can ignore them if you think they're making too many mistakes, come back to them when they're ready for prime time, or use the ones that you think are ready today. But you as a pathologist will dictate who will replace you. It could be radiologist instead of AI in the future.
That's true. Thank you.
And I think the second part was how, what are the key reasons, like in terms of residency training, right? So in our institute, all the residents have now been exposed to digital images. That's what they use now for daily sign out. But they also use class slides. They also, there are some specialties like renal pathology, hematopathology, cytopathology, who are still using glass slides, even though they have digitized slides available to them. So I believe that AI can actually help train residents better. It's almost like when you're driving your car and you use Google Maps. So AI can be the Google Map for residents. We've actually done a study where we've tracked eye movements of pathologists when they're looking at a monitor and they're making a diagnosis. And we have converted those into AI models, where those models are now training and building algorithms for residents to follow. So they can press a button and it could be Dr. Smith's GPS for diagnosing a prostate cancer. And they can press that button and it'll guide them through that process. So we've submitted this for a research grant and funding. And if it gets funded, we will hire engineers to build it even more. But the initial data looks very, very promising. So I think we have new ways to train residents of the future. And the one thing that all of this training should include is that you should not be afraid of AI. It'll never replace you as a pathologist. And it's up to you as a pathologist. How comfortable are you with that concept?
Oh, so very exciting to hear these things. And wow. So another question to Dr. Parwani from Dr. Erden Erozer, and he thanks for the talk, and he says that he is very excited about the foundational models, which well, let's just read the question. I would like to ask you about the foundational models, which I'm recently super excited as a methodology performed in AI research, and I'm helpful with its efficiency as a training data source. And his question is, which of these models used for digitalized histological slides have better metrics?
Yeah, so I think this is an exciting area because now we have assumed that all these images are of diagnostic quality. We are also assuming that the integrated data is related to these images. So now the next question is, how do we use foundational models? How do we build systems which are more predictive? And they are more predictive even before you press a button and present the data to you. And it's a combination of speech recognition. It's a combination of using image-based recognition and asking very specific questions, right? So today, these things are already being investigated in pathology. There's a large movement in the College of American Pathology and the Digital Pathology Association. There are working groups now working on large language models and trying to understand the impact on pathology. So more to come. I think this will be something in the next 5 years. You're going to start seeing a few applications based on large language models. And this will accelerate a lot of the education in pathology and research in pathology.
Thank you, Dr. Parwani. The next question is from Serdar Altunay. Do you put a note in the pathology report saying that the diagnosis of malignancy in this case was made by artificial intelligence? Could such a note protect us from possible legal cases?
No, so we don't put it, and it's never going to protect you. You are a pathologist. It's your name is on the report. You can use any tool you want. You can show it to your friend next door. You can use AI. You can use your fellow. You can use your resident. But ultimately, you are responsible for the right diagnosis or the wrong diagnosis. So we don't put any notes because to me, these are all tools. Like I don't put a tool. I don't put a note in my report that I used molecular pathology or IHC. I put the results of those, but I don't make a claim that any of those systems are responsible for the diagnosis. I could look at the brown stain and a lack of brown stain, and I make the call. I make an interpretation. And that's where pathology is different from radiology. You make an interpretation and you put those interpretations in your report. And it's based on all the tools, not just digital pathology and AI, IHC, molecular, FISH, ISH, SISH, whatever you want. Your name is on the report. You're responsible for it. So we don't put, if I had to start doing it, I would put 10 lines. I use IHC, I use molecular, I use digital pathology, I use AI. Ultimately, it's all pathology. These tools for you.
But yeah, regarding this issue, I would like to ask my own question. How do you see the future of the ethical issues in digital pathology and AI? So is it going to change in like 10 or 20 years that self-driving cars are going to be out there using their own technology and AI systems signing out cases without the use of pathology? But who's going to take the responsibility?
So ultimately, it will boil down to validation and regulation, right? So we are already doing this today, right? So you don't have to predict the future. The future is in the history. So cytopathologists have been using AI and machine learning to predict negative pap smears. And those are signed out by, by serotechs. They are not, pathologists never review those. They are screened by the machine and they're signed out by technologists. So in hematology, we have smears which are using quantitative methods to separate abnormal white blood cells from normal white cells and giving you that image in front of you. So that's already happened in pathology. So it's not going to change in the future, right? So it'll all depend on which systems you feel comfortable that machine can do, which systems you feel like the human intervention is needed. But it's not going to reduce your workload, because your administrators will always say that, you know what, you have now given 10% of your cases to the machine. So we're going to give you 10% more cases, right? Instead of hiring another pathologist to help you. So that's a reality. With technology and automation, human tasks are reduced and humans are elevated to perform more complex tasks. With advent of technology, then you rise to the next level and the next level. Your tasks are being replaced, but you're not being replaced. At some point, you might say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen enough of this, and you might quit. But there will always be the next technology. There will always be the next smartphone, which will replace the old phone. But you have to learn how to use the next smartphone. And you have to stay relevant as a pathologist. If you don't do that, somebody else will come and say, you're not doing a good job.
Great. So
You almost have to take one step ahead of AI.
I always say AI is coming next to us, not against us, and it is a good assistant for boring issues. We have so much boring issue in our daily routine.
Absolutely. If you could press a button and count all those nuclei on the screen, and you will still be much more accurate than 10 pathologists in the room. So why not use that? And then use 15 minutes of that time to get a cup of coffee or do your next case or teach something about pathology or go to a tumor board. Do the things that you really were excited by pathology and becoming a pathologist. Take away those moments of time that you save and put it to good use.
Yes, great. The next question, Ibrahim, can I go on?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, from Nazif Alperen. You said we reviewed 1,000 cases and AI found 4 misdiagnoses, which didn't have any clinical effect. What was the false positive rate in this study?
The false positive rate was much higher. But when we did that study, all of those cases were re-reviewed by pathologists, GU pathologists. And we found that after re-review, if you think about those 4 cases, they were really missed because of, experience or training or the time of the day, I don't know. But we looked at every case of false positive and false negative. The false positive rate was much higher than 4% because the computers can be designed to be much more sensitive, and it's up to you to fine-tune that process. In a research study, I think the false positive rate was closer to 8 to 9%. And we have published some of that data. It's available in PubMed, and we're publishing some more of it now.
Thank you. And we have many more questions, and let's get to some of the questions to Dr. Darshan Kumar. And one question from Mohammed Dervish Aslan. And thank you for your insightful talk. I'm curious to know if any quality control measures are implemented during the process you described, given the storage, sectioning, and the staining can occasionally result in suboptimal slide quality, and how is this issue addressed?
Let's see if I could answer that question with this quality control related slide. Can you see my screen? So
Yes. Yeah.
This is an algorithm dedicated to find artifacts, dedicated to find multiple different things which are considered as suboptimal that would cause problems in your slide. We just don't show this when you have slides that coming like this. We just don't show this because that is something that should be just seen for reordering of the slides. So in the clinical viewer, we are just showing the slides which are good. If the slides would look anything bad, which are considering of all of these kind of issues, we can send this information to the IMS system for a reordering of the slide, so that when you come, it's not that you're looking at a bad looking slide and then you order a new one. So on the background, a robust quality control is happening, so that all of these kind of things and even more things are detected. So this is sent back to the PAC system, whatever is not looking good on the slide level. So yeah, a lot of things I didn't show just to keep it simple. But yeah, we need to do a lot of these quality controls so that time is actually saved.
Another question to Darshan. Tools in the artificial intelligence program make diagnosis using digital images. Can a company's knowledge of patient data cause problems in the United States?
Yeah, that's a very good question in addition to the previous one. So when it comes to patient data, we have to be extremely sensitive because this is clinical stuff. This is not this very serious thing. So often we just always want to reiterate, although we are a company, everything is confidential. Everything is under very heavy security. We are compliant with like cybersecurity, like 27001 ISO certification, which is very hard to get. I'm not even allowed to use a USB stick in my company. So and when it comes to patient data, it depends from country to country. But at least in today's world, image pixels itself is not considered close to patient data. For example, the name of the patient or the social security of the patient and so on and so forth. So those information never go into the cloud platform. Only the image goes into the cloud platform, which still is a problem in many countries and many hospitals, where in today's world, most of the hospitals accept that on that image data itself is okay, and that's not a jeopardizing thing. So even if by any chance there is a hack, hopefully not, then that does not jeopardize the identity of the patient on a global. And because we are a cloud-based solution, we have to be extremely careful in having very high security standards. So yeah, we don't collect any patient data besides the image pixels itself, but some countries still express their views that that is considered as patient data. So
yeah, that's gonna be that is a big problem for many countries, and probably a lot of countries are gonna invest. Well, not only countries, companies in the countries as well, because of the regulations. They will have to invest more and more on servers and data storage. And I personally believe that it is a problem today, but I'm not sure about the future. But yeah, it's an important issue. Thank you, Dr. Kumar. And we have a very long question to Dr. Parwani, but I have to summarize it for the sake of the time. So it's from Yıldırım Karslıoğlu, and so he asks that well, it's a very long question, hard to. So how would you draw a picture in your mind that digital pathology and AI applications will create some new jobs for people in near future? And actually, he asked these questions in the perspective of low and middle income countries that would have a hard time implementing the newest cutting edge technologies in their practice and research. So what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, so I think this is very relevant for, if you think about what does it take to build an AI algorithm. It's not always digitization of your entire volume of slides. It's about going after the niche applications. So this will grow. If you are in a country where resources are scant, you don't have funding, but you have access to a camera on your microscope, and you're able to digitize and create TIFF images or JPEG images, you can start building a volume of these images and annotations without actually buying a big scanner, or maybe investing in a small scanner if you could. But then the next step would be to use those images to build a very specific algorithm. So this will create more jobs for histotechnologists. This will create more jobs for graduate students who have just graduated. This will create more jobs for technology staff, histology staff. Once you've done that and you've established that, okay, I want to be able to diagnose prostate cancer, that could also feed into it. So oftentimes people always complain that, I don't have money to buy a scanner, but you don't need a scanner to get things going. And you can go after funding opportunities. You can go after applications. So you have to take baby steps, right? And you have to get to the point where you can start generating meaningful applications that are part of this success. So Darshan Kumar, he worked with a pathologist in Pakistan, and he helped build her a AI algorithm to detect leishmaniasis, right? She didn't have a scanner. She didn't, but today their work is published in a journal. That work has been presented nationally. And we need to take those baby steps. And that would lead to more funding. That would lead to more opportunities. So, like I come originally from Pakistan, and I see, several pathologists there without resources, still doing AI, still building algorithms, still participating in it. So I think that's the summary of that.
Thank you very much. Questions to Dr. Serdar from Nazif Alperen. You said we excluded false positive areas. Did you also give feedback to the AI company to improve the program? Let me ask the second one, Serdar, if you want. Thank you for the presentation. I'm interested in knowing if your algorithm has been tested on other histologic variants of pancreatic cancer. Specifically, have you evaluated its performance on poorly differentiated tumors? From Mohammed Dervish Aslan.
Yeah, when time comes to giving feedback, I always give feedbacks and try to improve the companies or the IT people, but for the algorithms, if it is diagnostically approved, you cannot give feedback to them. For example, if it is FDA approved, you cannot say that, okay, I do not agree with this diagnosis and you have to change this part of the algorithm. It is approved as is, and until the next algorithm is developed and approved again, there can be changes. But if it is as a package and it is sold as a package, you cannot give feedback to them. Coming to the research part, you always have the chance to give feedback and adjust the algorithm and try to change the false positive and false negative rates. For the pancreas cases, we have not used poorly differentiated cases. It was just an example project. It only contained ductal carcinomas and it has problems with the inflammatory cells as well as normal acini. So it is very early step. It should be improved much more.
Thank you very much, Serdar. And next question is from Sufain Azdad to Dr. Parwani. Could you tell us more about the attempt to obtain images directly from tissue samples? What is the technology used?
Yeah, so there are a number of new technologies which will become available to clinically, but many of them are now in research settings. But today we can go directly from a tissue to a image using, especially for cases which require processing like breast tissue, bone tissue. So we use technologies like optical tomography or light CT. There are also technologies where you can go directly from an unstained slide to generate virtual H&E slides. Those will become more available to pathologists. They're more now in research setting, but there are 4 or 5 technologies which allow you to go, process slides in the lab and go directly to a stained slide. And the third most exciting part is where you can go from an H&E image of a tissue to a biomarker directly without ever doing immunostains. So, for example, HER2-neu, BRAF, and other biomarkers, PD-L1, where mismatch repairs, genes, where the computer can predict based on an H&E alone, an image, which will bypass some of this testing and delays that we see in pathology. So most of this is still experimental and research. It's not made its way into clinical. I mean, it's similar to what we were talking about 10 years ago, when the first digital whole slide imaging scanners were, making their way into the clinical space. So I expect in the next 5 years, you will see the first prototype of such a machine, which will be in the histology lab or cytology lab, and it'll provide those type of imaging precision.
Thank you, Dr. Parwani. Another question to you from Sülen Sarıoğlu. She thanks for the talk. What do you think about the progress in detection of lymphoid malignancies in extranodal regions, like in gastric biopsies or nasopharynx?
Yeah, so I think if we collectively think about all the tools that we discussed today, we have 3 levels of interactions. We today, if you have access to the digital image of the gastric biopsy, you are able to share it with a colleague instantaneously and get a second opinion. In my case, I'm a GU pathologist. So if I see a lot of lymphoid clusters, or if I see a history of lymphoma, I'm able to connect with the hematopathologist in real time. So they can review that image and guide me. Okay, you need to order these stains. Or I hope they just take over that case, which is usually what happens. But more importantly, because of that process of image sharing, you can also start applying algorithms that, like I just showed you, where you can do a solid tissue flow with 5 or 6 markers, like a CD45, CD3, CD20, and at least and even a cytokeratin, and assess, okay, this is a lymphoma, and I need to send it to a hematopathologist to review. But what if you don't have a hematopathologist? You can do more with less. So you can call it a lymphoid malignancy or atypical lymphocytic proliferation, and go on to the next step, what you would usually do. Ask for more samples, send it for flow. So today, you have technologies which will enable you as a surgical pathologist to better connect with a hematopathologist like you had never before.
Thank you, Dr. Parwani. The last question is to all the speakers, and it is from a breast surgeon, Fatih Aydoğan, in our group. I wonder what impacts AI has on inter-observer variability for breast pathology. For example, atopic ductal hyperplasia and low-grade ductal carcinoma in situ. Do we have a good answer for this for a surgeon?
Well, once you have the image and it's digitized and you can share it easily, you can actually do a virtual consensus conference on the go. So all the virtual conferences at my institute are now done on Zoom and Teams, where they share images and resolve these type of issues. And the second thing is, like I showed you in some of those AI algorithms, can actually help you better define what is ADH versus low-grade DCIS. These tools are still learning from pathologists, so they are not as advanced, but you have more choices now to consult more easily by pressing a button, or even using these low, more immature tools, and make them even more better as you refine your practice. So I think that's the wave of the future. You're not alone now. We are all connected. So if any one of you wants to send me a prostate biopsy to look at digitally, I will do it for you.
Thank you very much. Just before the webinar, when talking with Serdar, he said we have an image in our duyuru, in our advertisement of the webinars, and there is a human hand and then a robot hand. And he said that we should put the human hands above the robot hands because for now we are helping AI to develop. So for now, what is difficult for the pathologists is difficult also for AI. But when in the future, when we educate them better, they can help more maybe. But difficult is difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like, it's the same concept as we have a shortage of pathologists worldwide, right? We have more jobs worldwide than pathologists who can take those jobs. Even in the most well-trained pathology programs, they're still looking for more pathologists. So I'm sure that's the same case in Turkey, and we are looking for more expertise. We're looking for more pathologists to join the force. So this could be a way to create a transition into the workforce. Also attract more high school students, college students to get into pathology, get into the lab, become technologists, become pathologists. Because our perception has always been that pathologists are in the basement of a building, looking at glass slides, which are dusty, under a microscope. But that's no longer the case. I mean, I could see your office. It's beautiful. I think it's a virtual background, maybe. But
Those real, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, regarding that, that's a very important point, because I know that there are a lot of people. Well, we are actually in a very exciting era. We have a lot of tools, like molecular tools now with AI, and I believe it's a great time to be a pathologist or a scientist. It doesn't matter which way, but having all those tools around us and reading all those papers, like using all those tools for not diagnosing, also for doing research, it's so exciting. And I want to ask a question specifically to Serdar, because I mean, he is one of the young researchers on AI, and he's spending a lot of time on this. And I want to hear from him what he would recommend to all those young junior pathologists or residents that are into digital pathology, AI, or AI-related research, where they should start or what they should do first to get involved? What would you recommend?
In Turkey, especially, you mean?
Yes, specifically in Turkey. That's why I'm asking Serdar.
Okay, then the very, very hard question. What specifically I can recommend is for this year there was a good event, and its videos are published on YouTube. It is on QPath and QPath's features. It's a very long educational tutorial. To listen it will take 2 days time, and I would recommend all of the young pathologists to watch those videos, install some software. Those are free softwares like QPath, like ASAP, or Orbit. There are many free software. Try to get familiar with them and try to make their first annotations. Download some images from the TCGA archive. They are freely available. And today you can download, for example, pancreas slides from TCGA archive. Use an algorithm that is available on GitHub freely and make your own publication. It requires many technical aspects, but even if you can just try to see how the tools are being used, you will learn too much things.
Thank you. Anything you can add, Dr. Parwani or Dr. Kumar? For Turkey, the problem is this: there are little centers digitalized, and there are little number of residents that can reach digital slides, so slide image.
Yeah, so I would say specifically for training and education, the big academic centers should create de-identified teaching slides, and make it accessible to all the students around the country, so they have access to it. You become a better pathologist by practice, by looking at it over and over again. And I see this in every country in the world. So if you're a center which is digitizing even 5,000 slides a year, make those available to trainees, not only from your program, but other programs. So collectively, the country gets better. Your training force gets better. So you create a better talent pipeline that you could never do with glass slides, because there are limitations to share glass slides around the world, from an institute to outside. But with digital format, you have to create a secure website, make those images available, and who knows, some of these residents might become your fellows or your colleagues or your trainee, like part of your institute department of pathology. So that's something that's a low-hanging fruit. You don't have to invest a lot for doing that.
I should proudly say that Serdar built up his Pathology Atlas with our archive, and it is open access. It was made by memorial cases, our group's cases, but also contribution from other universities, little. And we will appreciate all the contribution to Atlas. Serdar, can you share?
I think
it was in your first slide, if you can.
Now I have.
And I am starting to thank.
Yeah.
Thank Dr. Kumar, Dr. Parwani. It was really amazing 2 hours. Thank you for your great talks, great speech. I'm so happy to welcome you, and I thank all, also Serdar. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very kind of you.
www.histopatologyatlas.com.
Yeah, that's
I
the address. I couldn't open it. You can access the cases from histopathologyaatlas.com. Yes, there are about 150 slides now. We are trying to improve the cases, and approximately there are about 500 cases in the queue. We are going to add them in this year, I hope.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. That's the end. It's almost 9 here. And thanks for having you, and thanks for listening to everybody.
Yes.
And thanks for all the great questions. And that's another thing.
Yes, a lot of questions and good questions. Thank you for all.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.